Hello and welcome to another episode of Elephant Talk. I hope you're enjoying these episodes. I truly am. I'm talking to some wonderful people, and today I am talking to the one and only Adam Chance from Home Free. It was an absolute joy talking to Adam. We spoke about his original music, his new album, The Night and the Sea, that's coming out very, very soon. And of course, we did talk a little bit about Home Free, and it was just all round wonderful. So sit back, enjoy. If you're listening to this over on Spotify or watching over on YouTube, I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, Adam, or Chance, as you just said. Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm great. I'm great. Thank you so much for being here on the channel. How are you? How are things?
Great. I feel like I've finally gotten to a point in my life where I can chill out a little bit, but I tell myself that and realize it probably will only last a few days, but I'm going to enjoy those few days.
Enjoying the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, how you've got an album coming out. That's the main thing that we want to talk about here today. I am super excited to jump onto it. How are you feeling about it?
I feel as good as I can, honestly, because it's been quite a journey. I started it 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And at that point, I wasn't supposed to be mixing it and producing it myself. And that kind of happened over the course of those 2 years. So that I feel like I'll forever look at it and be like, well, that was my first big project. But that being said, I couldn't be happier with where I got it to in that relatively short time frame, because it was working on the album between Home Free tours and things, because Home Free is such a busy entity that there's rarely any downtime.
Yeah, how did you manage the time with performing with Home Free and then focusing on the album?
Poorly. No, I mean, it's been like a balancing act for a long time, and that goes for not just me, but every member of Home Free, because before the pandemic rolled around, we were touring so much, and the pandemic happened, and we were forced to stay home. And I think all of us realized we needed that more. We were kind of burning ourselves out. But then I added this new element of me doing my own solo music. So then I, had to learn to balance it in a whole new way. But Home Free's backed off touring a little bit, even though we're still very busy. And I think now that the album's out, I've finally reached that balance, because now I can just work on one song at a time as opposed to 14 tracks on the album. So
Yeah, I was gonna. It's a lot. It's a lot for an album. Did you always want it to have like over 10 or like 14? Did you always, or was it just as you were writing it, the next one felt like it belonged in that project?
it kind of evolved a little bit, but I had gone through this phase where I was writing music again, because I used to write a lot from when I first picked up a guitar until uh, probably like a little over 10 years ago, and I started touring more. I wasn't writing as much, but right before the pandemic, I started writing more for some reason. The fire was burning again to write. And I had no intention of doing anything on my own of that. I was just doing it for fun. And some of the songs I had written like 5 or 6 years ago. So then when finally rolled around and I made the plan to do the album, I had an idea to release it in two halves. It was just going to be like two short albums or two EPs. But as time went along, it evolved even more. And I decided, why not just, make it one big album and spend the time on it to make it happen. And over that time, some of the tracks changed. Like some of the songs didn't end up on the album, and they'll probably come out later. And then the other songs kind of snuck their way in. So it evolved a little bit in that way.
Yeah. Do you tend to write all, I know obviously you play the guitar, you just mentioned there as well. Do you tend to write all of your songs with a guitar in hand, or do you scribble lyrics? How do you start writing a song?
It kind of happens all the ways. So I might have like a melody or some lyrics that get stuck in my head, and I'll jot them down, in my phone. Oftentimes it happens like as I'm trying to fall asleep. I know that's probably common. You're like, oh, really tired trying to sleep, but I have to get up and put this idea down, because I've not done that in the past, and you don't remember it the next day, and you're like pissed at yourself. But most of the time I sit down with a guitar and kind of start it that way. That's 90% of the approach. Yeah.
Don't you find it annoying when people like dream up a song, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, this song came to me in a dream, and then I wrote it down." I'm like, "How?
I
How do you
know.
remember that?"
Yeah, I never, even if I like piece something together the next day, it wouldn't be what happened in my dream.
No.
I never remember it that well. I think those people, there's something they're lying about that.
Are you sure? Were
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just not doing
exactly.
some
You
like
just
task or something? Not you weren't sleeping.
you just wrote this. Yeah,
Yeah,
come on.
there's no fancy story behind it. It was just written.
Exactly.
Do you play any other instruments, or is it just the guitar?
Yeah, guitar is like my favorite thing and my main thing that I play these days. But I started on saxophone.
Wow.
Because when I was a kid, I immediately gravitated towards music
Yeah.
and was singing all the time, even though I was very shy and barely talked to anyone. But I was always singing behind the scene, like at home by myself. And then I knew I wanted to do music as soon as I could. So in sixth grade was the first time where I grew up that offered music courses.
Mm.
So I picked up saxophone at that point, and I actually went through college. I had a scholarship through college with saxophone. So that was a big part of my life then.
Wow.
But somewhere along that time frame, I picked up guitar and started like had a love for writing music and playing kind of rock and roll and folk music and stuff like that.
Mm.
So I haven't played the saxophone in like 20 years, but funny enough, I did just buy a cheap one and I might utilize it. But
Ooh.
I want it to be a thing where if you hear the saxophone on the track, you don't know you're hearing saxophone on the track,
Yeah.
if that makes
It's
sense.
not like a
So that's
standout
my goal. Yeah,
solo kind
yeah,
of
and I
instrument.
might
Yeah.
even run it through some guitar pedals or something. I
Oh,
like to just mess around. So we'll see. Maybe you'll hear it, maybe you won't, but
we'll leave
something
that
else for me
door
to play with.
open.
Yeah, exactly.
What are your inspirations? Like, where do you write from? Is it from personal stories, or is it from like things that you see and you're writing about that thing?
Yeah, I think mostly it's kind of personal emotions based on like something that is strongly felt.
Mm.
I have strong feelings about whether it's something that affects me or other people. Um, because a couple of the songs on the album are like songs for like underprivileged groups, and like that's something that means a lot to me. But oftentimes it could just be about a personal emotion of mine, and I don't know. I always say it's whatever fire is burning at the time because my brain is all over the place and I never know what. And it's not like I plan to do this. I just pick up a guitar and whatever feels right is kind of what it evolves into. I let my brain lead the way, you
That's
know?
good. There's
Yeah.
so much pressure with it. Sometimes, like I've tried to do it so many ways where sometimes you allocate like, right, this is my writing time, and then nothing comes. You're like, right,
Yeah,
just let it be
exactly.
free. Um, yeah,
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. It's not on the album, but I just did a song on Patreon that's kind of about that because it's about how, songwriting as an industry has become kind of this, let's go make money and write a song or write a song and make money.
mm,
But I can't just schedule out my creativity. I have to do it when it happens.
yeah. And if that means not going to sleep straight away, staying up a little bit, writing something down.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. More often than not, that's the case for me.
Who needs sleep anyway?
Exactly.
You have such wonderful supporters. We actually, I feel grateful because there's a few crossovers that some people mentioned to me.
Yeah.
They're like, we love Adam. So yeah, it's lovely that you share back to your Patreons. Do they mean a lot to you, your supporters on
Yeah.
Patreon?
100%. I mean, Home Free in general has such great fans, and in whatever amount of crossover of fans that I've gathered from that project, or whether they're new or not, have all been so great. And honestly, I'm super grateful for them because I wasn't going to do a Patreon because my whole plan was to just, I didn't want to hide things behind like a paywall.
Yeah,
I didn't want exclusive content. So I fought it for the longest time, but I was going in the hole financially making
yeah,
this music. So, but my fans are so gracious because even if I'm always so apologetic. I try and make sure that they know that if I'm late on something, it's coming.
mm,
And they're always like, I feel like they trusted me, but they always say the same thing, and it means the world that they say, we just are here to support you,
yeah.
whatever you're giving us, whenever you're giving it to us, and that is I think that sums up the fan base as a whole, not just for me, but home free in general. So
Yeah. Yeah, they're
yeah,
so
they're amazing.
like whenever I, do any sort of project that's linked with you or Home Free, it's so lovely in the comments. They're so warm, so kind. And like you said, they're just very supportive of you. No, you're not forcing anyone to support you on Patreon and help financially or whatever, but there are some wonderful people out there that just want to support what you have to offer, and that's wonderful. So shout out to
Yeah,
you.
yeah, shout out to anyone that's watching this or
Yeah.
listening. We couldn't do it without y'all, and I'm glad. I love the whole ecosystem that we've created in the age of the internet here. Oh, my camera's following my hand. Sorry. But it's like this huge ecosystem of kind of cross pollination and finding people through means like this, like your music, home free music, vice versa. Hound and the Fox, my friends in Oregon. It's just a nice little world, and I appreciate the fans for
Yeah.
supporting all of us.
Yeah, yeah. I'm happy you mentioned the Hound and the Fox actually because they feature on one of your songs.
Indeed, they do. Yeah.
Hunting the Wren. Beautiful. I
Hmm.
I was listening. Thank you for sending it over as well, your album,
Yeah. Of
so I can have a
course.
cheeky listen. I cannot wait for everyone else to listen to it. But yeah, it's when that song came up, they've got such a distinctive sound as well. I know you've worked with them before, but
Yeah.
it's so warm and inviting. Tell me how it was collaborating with them again and collaborating with the other people on the album.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be where I am at this phase of my kind of solo project without the Hound and the Fox.
Mm.
Not just from a friendship standpoint, they've become like two of our closest friends. But Riley really kind of helped me from a production standpoint because for a while he was producing this stuff. But I mean, they're so busy with their stuff, and they've got the family and basically a whole farm of animals up there, and they stay so busy.
Yeah.
So I kind of graduated and started doing it on my own, but I couldn't have gotten to that point without them. And so on top of that, on the album, there's 9 originals, and I think two of them mm, Kins and I wrote together.
Oh
Um,
wow.
I don't co-write very often, but she and I have written like 5 or 6 songs and counting at this point,
Yeah.
just because the way we approach it fits so well together because we have a very similar way of thinking and approaching how we write songs. But so that was also a huge influence because I couldn't have done it without them. But then when it came to that song in particular, that's a cover song
Hmm.
by the incredible group Lankum, I think is how you'd say it, but they're from Ireland, I think. They're this great modern day dark folk band. But I knew it just had to be them when I was doing that song. Um, if that makes sense, I think
Yeah.
people when you hear it, you'll be like, oh yeah, of course that's a song that they should be on.
Yeah,
That's how I felt
absolutely.
about it.
I think that sums it up really well. Like it just came on and it just the blends of all of you three on that song was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you
I
so
mean,
yeah.
I anytime that they're with me, they like elevate me so much. I feel like let me turn this tracking off. There we go. Um,
No, that's
yeah,
that's
yeah, go ahead.
that's nice. Like when you in a creative business where you can be on your own, like trying to figure things out, and if you're doing the production side behind the creative side of things, that like all on your own, when you find these people that it just fits and suddenly things just fall into place and it makes sense. So it's nice that you found that in them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who is the so you mentioned a little bit that they are or Riley's a part of the production side before. Was it
Yeah.
predominantly you in this for this album? Like behind the
Yeah. I mixed and produced the entire thing with one exception. Song for Home
hmm
is a song that came out for me early on when I started releasing music, but it's also on this album. And when I started mixing this album, I was like, oh, I'm gonna put this song on there and this song on there that Riley had produced, and I they were just so different in from a mixing standpoint, and
Yeah.
like it was kind of jarring going from my not at the time not so great mixes to Riley's great mix. So I was like, well, I think I need to. So he sent me kind of the stems and some of the production he had done,
Mm.
and I started there as a building block. So that one song was kind of an exception. It's still got some of his production in it. But it was the stepping stone for me to be able to do the rest of the album myself. So
Yeah.
I mixed every other song. Uh, it it was a painful process. There were days where I felt like anyone out there that has ever done this, I feel like would know. There's days where you like feel on top of the world when you walk away from the studio, and there's days where you want to flip a table. And I had many of both of those days.
Oh
So
no. But you're on
yeah,
the other side now. It's so hard because if you don't go back and listen to it and make sure that you're absolutely, you can keep going over and over, and you know your ears just get used to one sort of sound. You need to let it be for a while, but then you just want to get it done.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure you're proud of how it's come like now. You know, it's
That
finished.
that's you hit the nail on the head because it's like you have to force yourself to get to this point. You do need to take breaks from it
Yeah.
because you will like I was listening to it so until I was sick of it.
Mm.
And I was like, I need to step away for like a couple days, come back to it. And then you kind of appreciate it in a different way because you're not overly analyzing the things. You can look at it as a broader picture.
Yeah.
But I finally got it to this point where I was like, you know what? My wife and I went to the beach and I just listened to it. And I was like, it's ready to go. I'm going to send it off in this state. And, you know, it'll forever be this thing. And that's what it should be,
Yeah.
I think. So,
Yeah, you don't
yeah.
want to do too much over like working on it and just like, you know, focusing on it. Otherwise, it loses the magic of it as well of what you originally wanted for it. I'm
Yeah.
happy. I'm happy for you. I'm excited.
Thank
Like I
you.
said, for
Thank you.
everyone to to hear it.
Yeah.
Going back to your songwriting, are you someone who likes to finish the song that you're currently on, like get it complete, be in that mind frame, that's in the world that you're in, and then go to another one? Or do you like to start multiple songs and just see where it takes you?
Kind of the latter. My brain is so all over the place that sometimes I'll write a verse and a chorus, and in a similar way to what we just talked about, I'll just leave it there
Yeah.
because I might revisit a week from now or a year from now and have better understanding of whether I like it enough to move on and focus on it. And then there's songs like Ancient History, which is on track 3 on the album. I wrote that song in 20 minutes. I finished it in 20 minutes. And I'm so proud of how that turned out. Just as proud of that as I am a song that might have taken me 6 months.
Yeah.
Just a weird thing as a songwriter. But I've got notebooks and voice memos of scattered, you know, bits and of nonsense and bits of songs that may or may never or actually, you know, become songs, you know.
Yeah. God, the voice memos are the funniest thing because you'll get one that makes no sense like a few months down the
Yeah.
line. You're like, this is interesting.
What was I thinking?
What?
I my biggest fear is I die and someone releases my voice memos. That's my biggest fear in life.
Why
So
have you said that? You've just now unleashed my biggest fear. I do not. No, no, no. Going through them, deleting the ones that make no sense. No.
you know, it's crazy to me because you see all these like great musical artists and like after they've passed,
Hmm.
they get like their estate or someone will go in and be like, we released all these tapes that they never released. And you can listen to that stuff and like sometimes it's lo-fi, but it's great.
Yeah.
Most, you know, 99% of the time it's really cool. But I don't want them to, don't ever do that to me, people,
No.
because it's not going to be great. It'll ruin my legacy. So
Stay out. Stay out of the voice
yeah,
memos.
leave it there. It wasn't meant to be.
Are you releasing another single before the album comes out? Or
Right now I'm planning to release a second one. So there will be two originals that come out before the album.
yeah.
Now it's just a matter of whether I can get the resources together to shoot the music video for the second one. But either way, it will come out for streaming.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so music videos, do you enjoy them? How are they for you? Like, what's the journey?
I enjoy conceptualizing them and I enjoy them when they're done, but they're oftentimes very stressful
Mm.
to create just because, like we mentioned earlier, sometimes time isn't always a great example of this was last year. It was like last summer, and all the planes, like the system went down for Delta and some of the other, I don't know if you remember that, but like flights were getting canceled and delayed, and it was kind of
Yeah.
a nightmare. And I had just finished like a run with Home Free, and we had gone to the in-laws over in New Jersey, and I was supposed to fly out to Oregon because my bandmate Tim has the Oregon Getaway, and I play a few songs there. And those flights got canceled, but the plan was to go sing a few songs there and then fly back here to Los Angeles. And we had already gotten everything together. We'd rented a venue to shoot one of my music videos that's yet to come out. And we had the whole day planned, and it was like one of the biggest productions I've done for my solo project. And our flight got delayed overnight.
Oh,
Yeah, and then we get here, and Sammy was directing this music video, and she was already stressed out because of being in charge of a big project like that
yeah.
is can be overwhelming. And then we land late, and we have to rush into the day, and we get home, and like she's trying to gather herself, and there's an earthquake, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? And but it's like that. All that being said, she persevered, and like I couldn't be happier with how that video turned out. And that one probably will be the third one to come out at this point.
Oh,
The third single. I say that two of the songs came out well before the album, so
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the lines are blurred a little bit there, but
yeah.
you'll see that video soon.
Nice. How
Yeah.
the good old promotion and social media.
Yeah.
We love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so
How do,
nice.
how do you how do you feel about it? Like, because it's something so it's like separate from the creative songwriting process, but it's so important that it's now like a part of our lives to try and, get to new listeners. How do you feel about all of that?
I have a love-hate relationship with that, like probably many do. And it was something that had become so second nature for me, especially after joining Home Free and like so much content coming out all the time. And, you know, I have fallen off that a little bit. Like the last year or so, I've been so busy outside of that that I've kind of neglected it a little bit. But now that I've finished this project, I do plan on trying to not only use social media for the stuff that you have to like make sure your music gets out there, but just for life in general to keep people updated. But yeah, it's not always easy to do. And the way you asked me that question, I know that you know exactly, you
I
know
know.
all too well.
I feel like I feel like because at this moment in time, I'm obviously promoting like my music as well. So I'm kind of in the same boat
Yeah.
of just trying to push that out. And it's like that, am I annoying people? Do I keep repeating? Do I not? And you have to kind of like almost not feel apologetic towards it, right? Because you just have to, it's part of the game, if you want to call it, but it's
Yeah.
part of that side of it. You've got to try and just see if it brings a new listener, great. That's the whole point.
Yeah,
You want
exactly.
your music to reach.
I think being unapologetic about it is the approach, even though
Mm,
I still feel that way. But I see
hard.
all my friends and artists that I support, and they're just like sometimes they're spamming new songs and new content. And I think that's just because you have to sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
These days it's the algorithm it's changed so much. It's an interesting creature. I don't think a lot of people like outside of what we do understand that as much, you know. Like it's an element that you don't know that we're thinking about as much as
Yeah.
we are, but we have to.
Guys, like that picture of the iceberg, like this is all that you see, and then like underneath is like everything that comes with it. You're like,
Exactly. Yeah,
very much so.
100%.
Um, okay, so obviously the album is at the forefront of your mind, and these singles, the music videos, the full album, and just living that moment. Can we go back to the beginning and how you mentioned a little bit about saxophone and
Mhm.
music there, but where did it all start? Like the love for music, and then I know shy, singing was a little bit. You're a shy boy that you said,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Yeah.
how did it all start?
I mean, when I was a kid, and you can see some of this in some home free content, but I grew up in a very rural, down a dirt road in a house, like in the middle of the woods. So it was just me out there. My sisters were older and were, either moved out or were moving out when I was young. And I don't like, I just remember like my parents had a lot of old outlaw country on cassette tape and stuff in those days. And I would just wear those out listening to some of the old country songs of like Waylon and Willie and Billy Joe Shiver. And like, I remember that as a kid. And then I went to see, this is a really funny one. I went to see Oliver and Company, the old Disney
Love.
movie.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. So underrated. Carry on.
Yeah, and it had Billy Joel and Huey Lewis
Yep.
on the soundtrack. And I was like a 6 year old who was like obsessed with the soundtrack because I loved those voices and those songs. And so I think that had some influence on me because years later, when I started, because at that time I didn't know who I was listening to, I just liked the songs. But then as I get older and I started exploring music more, I gravitated towards Billy Joel and Huey Lewis, and it kind of made sense. I was like, oh, well, that's because I loved them when I was like 5 years old.
Yeah.
So that was a weird little influence on me. But then as I got more and more into music, I just couldn't get my hands on enough of it. And it's not like today where you can just go on Spotify and listen to anything in the world, which I
Mm.
love. But I would, I went through phases where I was listening to every radio station that I could because that's all I had at the time. And then years later, going to, I don't know if people remember this, but you go to Barnes and Noble in the US here and you could like scan the CDs and listen to them in the headphones.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I would do that for hours. Like I would go to Barnes and Noble and just anything that looked interesting to me, I would scan it and like click through and listen, sort of like you can do on Spotify now.
Yeah.
And so that kind of fueled my love for other genres of music. And then I went to college as a music major, switched majors to creative writing. Um, and that was how I finished college, but like, which I think influenced how I write today. I'm more of a
Mm.
poetic style approach, and I listen to a lot of songwriters who have that. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then I thought I'd be out of music. Uh, I thought it would just be a hobby, and I kind of got pulled into this world. It was a really kind of happenstance situation, unexpected, and I'd been doing it for 15 years now. So
And how did
yeah, you never
the
know.
yeah, you never know when it's going to come back.
Yeah,
How did the journey into a cappella music come? I know you've talked about this like previously and we've here, but just for this here with me, how did then the crossover from just music and then a cappella?
and I kind of that's where my story ended there. The whole happenstance thing, because
Mm.
I went to college and switched majors. When I was still a music major, I sang in the choir because it was like a music elective. It went towards my music degree, but you could pick certain things. So I picked the choir. I'd never done that before. And I met a guy named Mark in there, and we were kind of casual friends. Like we didn't hang out outside of music department events or choir events, but when we would see each other in the music department, we'd be like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" We'd hang out. And years later, 3 or 4 years later, it might have not have been that long. It might have been 2 or 3, but he messaged me out of the blue and said, "Hey, we need someone to sing that can sing low." And I remember you could sing low for an a cappella project. And I was at the time, I was like, I'm not interested in that, man. I've never done that before, nor do I even listen to that.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, full disclosure, we're going on a TV show, like a reality show, and we would need you like tomorrow in Nashville because I was still living in the college town down in Alabama.
Mm.
So I was like, oh, what the hell? That'll be a fun story. So I called into work as a waiter at Cracker Barrel. I don't know if you're familiar with Cracker Barrel, but I called into work and drove up to Nashville with Mark and met these guys that would end up being my bandmates for 6 years and some of my lifelong friends. And we flew out to LA a few weeks later and thought it would be a fun story and came second place on this TV show. And that started the whole thing. And that's how I met Home Free, and that's
Mm.
how that whole transition happened. So
Wow.
I was in the right place at the right time, really, honestly.
Especially as like, yeah, we're gonna leave tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. And we people always ask like, what are your like if we have, younger fans that are like, what's your advice
Mm.
if you want to be a musician? And it's like we always say the same thing. It's three things. Like you have to work hard and be as talented as you can. Like always work at that and try your best. Be uh what I start? I don't know if I started with A. Haven't had
We're
enough coffee
crossing over
today.
numbers and letters. It's all
Yeah,
good.
yeah. One, B. Uh,
Green.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and also, so it's first, it's talent. You have
Yep.
to work really hard. Two, it's luck. And three, honestly, a big part of it is like networking and
Mm,
making friends with people that you want to work with, and be someone that those people want to work with.
yeah.
Because that's what got me there in the first place. It was like, oh, I'd made a friend with someone who gave me this opportunity and wanted to continue work with me, and I wasn't,
Yeah.
like a jerk to these people. And I think that goes a long way. Like, be a nice person that people want to work with and work really hard at what you're doing. And if the luck falls into place, then,
Off you
but at the
go.
end of the day, you got to be willing to, like Tim always says, you got to be willing to do it for free.
Yeah.
If you love it that much, then that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so well said. It's yeah, talent, luck, but then also just kind of riding with the wave of the ebbs and flow of what comes your way. You might not have something for a long time and you might feel like I need to, maybe I'm in the wrong business, maybe I should stop. But actually, if you want to, if you're wanting to do it for free, if you're wanting to still, if the love is still there, the passion's still there, just keep going. You never know what's around the corner. I think that's so important
Exactly.
because it's so easy at the beginning of anyone's journey, just like not seeing anything happening, and you're like, okay, let me just change my lane. Let me try this, but you never
Right.
know, never know what's around the corner.
Yeah. I always say just stick to what, to be yourself and stick to what you do
Yeah,
and want to do. Because it's like at the end of the day, the sea shanty thing blew up, and that was something that had been a fan of,
yeah.
and
Who
fans
knew?
of groups who were already doing that, and there was this, already this following for that, and when we did it, it went somewhere that we never expected, and now we're
Yeah,
working on even more of that stuff. So you never know. Like, just be true to yourself.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's opened a whole new door for you that you didn't know. It was just a video, like it was just a song you were working, and
right.
then suddenly it blew up. I think what's also nice, like there are so many inspirational people that you're like, oh, I want to be like them. I'm gonna do this, but actually, it's just making sure that you're not, you know, going off from who you are and what you bring, because there is only one of you at the end of the day. Like I always have to keep reminding myself of that. As in,
Yeah.
like I bring something different from the next person. So let me just do what I enjoy and let's just see if there's a spot there.
Exactly. And
um
everybody's voice too is
yeah.
their own unique instrument.
Yeah.
Like, no two voices are the same. So utilize that. And, obviously you're going to naturally emulate your inspirations,
Yeah.
but
And that's where it
don't,
starts. Like
yeah, don't try and be something that you're not. Just be whatever. So this is an interesting thing that I love. Was talking about this last night. We've got tickets to see Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and a lot of the people that listen to my music probably aren't familiar. Some of them are, but like, what I write is inspired by people like that, but it sounds nothing like what they do.
yeah.
But it probably does influence how I do things in some small way. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
it's an interesting thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, going back to what you just mentioned about voices, as well, how every voice is different. Um, let's talk about yours. So looking at the going back to the album as well, it got to, I think, I've written here song 9 where we have Cordelia, and suddenly we
Hmm.
have the wonderful drop in your voice. I was wondering if we were going to see like more of, because the beginning is very like mid range. We go into like some lovely falsetto high voice stuff from you, high lovely things
Yeah.
there. But then suddenly we get to this and it's like, oh, here we are.
Yeah.
Did you want it to, did you want the album to showcase your range like as, as your voice, or did it just happen because it felt natural to the songs that you were writing?
More so the fact that it felt natural.
Mm,
I'm never one to like force something because I know that like that's something that people might want to hear.
yeah.
I'm a terrible businessman. But one big thing about this album for me and this project in general, is the fact that Home Free lives in this space, not just from like an artistic standpoint, but from what we do. And there's five of us, and we have to like work together to create art that all of us are happy with.
Yeah.
And that can be difficult. Like, anybody who's ever been in a band, it's like you're married to four or five or whatever amount of other people, and you have to see eye to eye, and that also that goes whether it's in the studio or on tour or anything. But with this project, it's able to fill in the gaps of the rest of my kind of artistic vision, that doesn't do.
Yeah.
Because I love what we do in Home Free, but there's this other gap of things that it can't do that I like, art from an artistic standpoint. So from the album art, I don't put my face. You don't ever see
Oh,
my
yeah,
face
yeah.
on the album art, and that's intentional because for Home Free, it's not the fact that our faces are the selling point, but you're used to seeing Home Free smiling on the cover, or we're standing on the cover.
Yeah.
But I wanted what I do here to be a departure from that, because that's not why I'm doing it. It's not like I'm Adam Chance, this is my face, this is what I do. Not
Yeah.
that there's anything wrong with that, but I just wanted to make that point in the artwork. And also in the songwriting, I just was doing what I felt natural to each individual track
Yeah.
when I'm writing it. And Cordelia was the time where I was like, okay, this makes sense to sing it low. And I even dropped it down as low as I could sing, I think, naturally on the beginning
Yeah.
of that, because later in the song when I'm kind of belting,
Yeah.
I was pushing my limits. But yeah, I knew people would probably enjoy that though, so I'm excited for them to hear that. But I approached the whole album with more like what served each song as opposed
Yeah.
to, showcasing a particular style of my voice
Yeah.
or anything like that.
And I think that's goes with what you were saying earlier, how it's rather than like I'm writing for the commercial side, the money side of something, it's actually just what makes sense to you as and when. And
Yeah.
I think that goes with it's very interesting mixes because especially from the opening song, you have that intro that then it just switches when the lyrics come in, which the timing of the phrasing is so good. When I first, I was like, wait, hold on. I was like going, wait a second. It's so interesting because also, I can't think of the songs now, but some of the endings are quite similar to that intro where it just suddenly flips and you hear like
Yeah.
voices talking, like
Yeah.
overlapping, which then now just makes sense with what you've just said because it's just felt right in the moment to include that because
Yeah.
that's where you wanted it to go. It's so yeah, and like what you just mentioned there as well, how your face is not like is covered in your original your solo stuff. Sorry, I should say
Yeah.
solo music. It's because people can forget. Like they see you home free, it's
Yeah.
something to do with that. And actually, you want to just create a little separation here because it's
Right.
something. It is something so separate. It's got nothing to do. Yes, you are from that a cappella group, but
Yeah.
it is your own journey, your own writing. And I think that's
Yeah,
you've done the right
exactly.
thing by just separating the two.
And it's not that I don't love what happens there, because I do. And those guys are like my family, and what
Mm,
we do there, I truly appreciate.
yeah,
But it is important to keep that separation, because as an artist, you have this wide range of kind of gaps that need to be filled, I suppose. But
mm,
to your point of song switching and stuff too, everything I do is intentional.
mm.
Whether or not it ends up being good, I'm not taking credit for that, but it is intentional. So
There's
like
thought behind the chaos. Okay.
there's a reason for it, exactly. So there, like, for instance, Cordelia is a good example. All of the guitar sounds were meant to imitate uh sounds of the sea, like whale sounds, or sounding as if you're submerged underwater, the
Yeah.
the way sound comes at you. And I tried to emulate that with all the guitar stuff.
Mm,
And bioluminescent, um without going too deep into the what that song's about, it was inspired by like where I grew up and being close to these shipyards. And the sound that I did with the guitar there was meant to be very metal grinding kind of, so I always there's always an intent behind it. Even the banjo that opens the whole album, I
mm.
won't say why that's in there, but there was a reason that that's in there. So
Okay, well, I loved it. I was
thank
like,
you. Yeah.
"Oh, this is so." It's nice because we just step into your world, like and they're written in that order, like they're shown in that order for a reason, and I just love how we're
Mhm.
all, we're just completely immersed in that. So are you in the? So you're playing the guitar throughout the whole, like you're on the guitar for the whole album, or do you have any other? Who are the other
Yes.
musicians that you have with you?
I'm, eventually this probably it won't be out now, but I'm putting a credits page on my website for that very reason, and obviously it'll be in the liner notes of the album.
Yep.
I think all of the guitars are me. I'm trying to think if I had any guest guitarists, uh, but I had drummers play on everything.
Hmm.
Mostly a guy from South Africa named Warren. He's very good, and then Avi Kaplan's drummer came and played on Hunting the Wren, Noah. Uh, and his wife Eleanor does a lot of the string arrangements on the album. They're like a power couple. She was on Hunting the Wren with him.
Hmm.
So those are people that I love to work with. Uh, and my wife Sammy actually came in and did most of the other background vocals that weren't Riley
Oh,
and
nice.
Mackenzie from The Hound and the Fox. So that I think there was probably, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look. I hope I'm not sliding anyone, but I definitely love giving credit
Yeah.
to these folks. That's why I'm gonna make the um, credits page on my website for everyone. And
Yeah.
I've backtracked and gone all the way to the first songs that I released, so you can see literally every song I've ever released and who worked on it and what they did and what capacity. So, because
Nice.
that's important, I think.
Yeah, very important. Uh, they're a huge part of what's now The Night in the Sea. Why that title as well, actually?
It's so the album the original themes behind the songs that I was writing, a lot of them have to do with life and death. That's always a big thing for me,
Hmm.
and especially what I was writing after my father passed away, which was a little over 10 years ago now. But it's, everyone knows that if you're close to your parents, that you'll never truly get over that.
Yeah.
And so that was something I was always writing about. And obviously, growing up on the sea and listening to songs inspired by the sea and seaborne music,
Makes
obviously,
sense.
was also so I was kind of writing all of those elements at once, using nature and as like a illusion to life and death, like night and day being
Mm.
life and death. And initially, the first half of the album was going to be more catered to the night and the day and and the life and the death, and the second half was going to be more catered to nature and the sea. But as this project evolved, they started working so well together. I decided to kind of disperse them all. And originally, the first half was going to be called "Night Will Surely Come," and the second half was going to be called "Sea Lore."
Yeah, of course, because you mentioned that it could have been like two separate EPs.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but as they became one, I decided to call it "The Night and the Sea,"
Yeah.
to kind of marry both of those ideas together. But yeah, the whole journey is like life and death and nature and versus humanity and stuff,
Mm.
and yeah,
Very well.
it obviously varies track to track, but there's a huge element of those things,
Yeah.
and a lot of that stuff carries over song to song.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, very well tied. Do you have going back to your voice and your range, do you have a favorite area that you like to sing in?
Probably where I sing on a lot of this album, I love having explored music so much when I was younger
Mm.
and gotten into rock music so much. I love just turning the guitar up and just belting and singing as loud as I can.
Yeah.
So I love singing in my upper range, probably mid to upper range, but every now and again when I'm feeling in good voice, I do love just pushing the limits. So that's honestly my favorite area to sing. Sorry, home fries who love when I sing low, but it's true.
It's there as well just to occasionally pop into, but
Yeah,
we like to
exactly. Yeah.
rock out.
Exactly.
Nice. Do you
Yeah.
have much of a just my vocal coach has just, just kicked in a little bit. Do you have much of a warm up that you do whenever you go and sing live or record? Do you look after your voice?
Um, More so now than ever,
Hmm.
looking after my voice because I've learned as I get older I have to. But in my younger days, not so much. And in the days when I was in my first group, Street Corner Symphony, I was just primarily singing bass there,
Mm.
and warming up wasn't as important. I could just go on stage no matter what I did that day or the night before, importantly. And
So
I
I've
could
heard.
sing. Yeah, exactly. And I could go and do the show. And as I got into home free and I started having to utilize my entire range, I learned, you know, I needed to A, take better care of my voice, and B, see, I got it right that time, ABC. And sometimes do warm ups. But now, given the nature of how often I sing, uh, I'm in as good a voice as ever
Yeah.
as I've ever been. Um, and I don't need to warm up if I've been talking most of the day. I will need to warm up if I we have like an early radio um,
Yeah.
kind of promotional thing, or if I'm sick, or you know, if the first song in the set is a really high one for me. But sometimes naturally I can just ease into it
Yeah.
from talking to it throughout the day. Because again, another thing that a lot of people might not realize is you can overdo it, and if
Mm.
you have a very taxing show and you warm up, you might be tired before it's over. But
Yeah.
other
Like,
people,
yeah.
you for instance, such a great voice,
Oh, thank
and
you.
no, honestly, and you, my voice, I have a trash voice. I and I love Tim gives me like, he's always messing with me about this, like, because I listen to some weird artists who have weird voices, and we joke that I love it when someone has a terrible voice. And I can't wait to get older and have the old man voice. So I kind of relish like weird voices and
Yeah.
weird inconsistencies in the voice. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, like going back to what you just said, every voice is different, so you're always going to find something uniquely
Yeah.
like fascinating in the. I love picking at people's voices and just hearing you talk. It's really nice. You do not have a trash voice. I don't know who told you that, but you do not need to tell yourself that.
I'm telling myself that.
No,
Yeah.
I'm telling you not to tell that to yourself. You've got such a warm, lovely, smooth voice. It's so wonderful to
Thank
hear
you.
you. And like, yeah, this album showcases everything that different aside from Home Free, like what you do there, just like you pouring your heart out in the certain songs and just really connecting to those areas of your voice really beautifully. So I think it's just wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have got I really enjoyed Forest for the Trees. I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that
Yeah.
because there's that lovely
Yep.
overlapping section,
Hmm.
and those parts always make me say because you kind of like see it because you hear both of the overlapping sections obviously, and then at the end you think you because that's with
With
less
Less
of
of
a
the
girl,
Girl
yeah.
with is Mackenzie from The Hound and the Fox.
Got you. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, and then you come back in with the chorus lyrics, I think, or yeah,
Yep.
it's just
Yep.
it's so lovely. Was that co-written then? Is that one of the ones?
Yeah, she and I wrote that song, and I think it's one of my favorite
Mm.
things that I've ever written or been a part of writing. And in when I started putting these songs together, since I was also producing and mixing, some of them kind of got new life.
Hmm.
Like Bioluminescent is one that I like. I liked this song that I wrote, and I think I'm going to put it on the album. But I, I when it came into the studio and evolved into what it did in the end, I loved it even more.
Yeah.
And Forest for the Trees was one of those that kind of landed for me in both ways. I
Mm.
was so happy with the song that we wrote, and Mackenzie is such a brilliant poet and songwriter. I will sing her praises all day. I just trust her. Like if I have an idea for a song, a half written song, I can give it to her and know that it's in good hands.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna apologize to her because she's so embarrassed and hates that I'm saying all that right now.
Oh no.
But it's true, and so I that song turned out so great from a songwriting perspective for me, and then the way it ended up working in the studio. Because when I go in the studio, I don't really have a vision for how it's going to end up.
Yeah.
I knew that the counter melody thing was going to happen.
Mm.
That was always the idea. But she went in and did these ad libs in the end, and they ended up working so well, and they're kind of all over the
Yeah.
place. And that's like why that ends. That's the first single, the one that's out by the
Okay.
time you hear
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm excited for that then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
I wanted to just obviously I've mentioned a few already, but that one I think stood out to me that I was like, no, I've got to I've got to let you know that I love it. Um,
I That means the world because that's why I was like, I feel like this is the song that needs to go out to the world first. So
okay,
you saying that kind of reaffirms my
good.
logic there. So thank you, and I'm glad you like it.
Well, I'm sure there'll be so many other people that'll love it as well because it's just beautiful. Your voices work so well, and yeah, it's
Thank you.
great. um, Going to, so you mentioned a little bit about Home Free and the tour and not having many days off. When you do like a big part of the tour and you go and okay, say it was a few years ago, like the Europe tour or something.
hmm
Do you have much time to explore the cities that you're in?
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to balance
Mm.
because if there's not a day off, we wake up in the city, the new city, and we have until about 4 or 5 o'clock, and that day is ours because our crew's working to get things set up, and then we go in at 4 or 5 o'clock and sound check and or do a VIP session.
Hmm.
But up until that point, we can do whatever we want as long as we can get back in time, obviously.
Yeah.
But that also comes back down to balance. So you kind of have to pick your battles. When we do a European tour, for instance, we will like wear ourselves thin because it's rare that we get to go over there and we love Europe and the cities so much and the people that we will get out every day and go try and see
Yeah.
stuff and eat stuff. And but here in the States, you kind of have to pick your battles. So like, oh, I know I'm going to have friends in, Portland, Oregon in a few days, or, we're going somewhere with family or a nightlife or food scene that I want to get into or some tourism. So today I'm in this town that I've been to 100 times and or is kind of a sleepy town. I'm going to sleep in and
Yeah.
just chill but backstage at the venue.
Yeah.
Uh, so you kind of do that so that you can go out and see things as much as possible. But it's balance. Yeah.
Yeah. Picking and
And then
choosing.
we have off days and our tour manager gives us like the option to go like, hey, where do you want to go? These are the cities in between, so we'll kind of pick
Oh,
those
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
strategically as well. So
Nice. So you get to like stop off somewhere and then continue
yeah,
on the road.
yeah, exactly.
Nice. Do you have a favorite city or venue that you've played at?
The answer to that, like the venue is a broad one because it
Mm.
could be we have cities and venues where the crowd is particularly good, even if the venue is not, or the
Yeah.
venue is particularly good. I mean, the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee is an incredible one, just because of the history and the acoustics,
Mm.
and there's an energy there given both of those things. Crowd wise, we have really good crowds in Colorado, um, Oregon, Washington, and other parts of the Midwest, and particularly anywhere in Europe. We always talk up Europe when we go because the crowds there, and maybe it's because we don't see them as often, but they're always
Yeah.
standing and singing every word, and that's a great time. We did a venue in London, not the last time when you were there,
Mm.
but before, and it's like an old church that was converted
Oh, cool.
into a venue, but it's
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
well known because I know some artists, I can't think of the name of it, but some artists that I listen to have
Yeah.
done shows there. But that was a particularly beautiful venue, not just visually, aesthetically speaking, but from a
The
sound perspective.
sound. Yeah, I can
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah. Any old like stone building is so cool to go sing in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was cool. I'm some maybe people home fries will know what I'm talking about. I don't remember the name of
We'll
it.
see it in the comments, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your favorite thing about touring with Home Free?
The top two things are being able to see the fans
Mm.
because it kind of reminds you like one of the reasons that you're doing it is like because you see these happy faces out there because some days you go out and you're like feeling like on top of the world and some days you're sick or you're burnout but you go out and you see the people in the front row who've been waiting for this for like 4 months
Yeah.
or 6 months or whatever it is and that is a big part of it. It kind of immediately snaps you back into like this is awesome, I'm
This
living
is
the
why I'm
dream.
here. Yeah. My,
Exactly.
yeah.
And second, the travel, just like we were just mentioning this eating and sightseeing around the world. I'm fortunate to be able to do that,
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. I just remember seeing when I was in London, I was right at the front, like, hello.
Yeah,
um,
we our friends always get the well, I say that, and I sometimes venues stick our friends in the back, and that's not
oh,
in our
really?
control. But most of
Yeah.
the time, if someone's coming that we know, they'll get pretty good seats. But it is funny when you're in the front row.
Well,
Oh,
it
that's
wasn't meant to be. It was just, I think, because they weren't meant to be seated, and then suddenly they were that venue or something, and then they just allocated
sure.
the ones right in the front. I was like, well, someone's got to be
Might as
here.
well, right?
Might as well, yeah, I'll be here then. um,
Amazing.
do you think you'll? So obviously, I know you mentioned how this album is separate to Home Free. Will we have other chance originals with Home Free? That's like not your solo stuff.
Yes. And at this point, I got to think when things are going to be announced, but there is an original on the album that we just finished.
Oh, cool.
So, like a crazy person, I was finishing my solo album and a home free album all
Oh,
this month. So, right, yeah, the masters for the home free album are due next week, and I just sent my masters off last week.
wow.
So, yeah, there's an original on that album, and
Okay.
I think as time goes along, there's always a possibility for more. But this album in particular was a realm that was made for me to write. Because when I sit down to write, I don't write with home free in mind.
Mm,
I just write whatever, like we said earlier, it feels natural
yeah.
and I'm feeling at the time. But if it ever works for home free, then that's a bonus. But yeah, I'm excited for this track. It's coming out on our upcoming album, which should be out this summer. So
Nice.
yeah.
And will that have other originals as well? Because I know Tim writes quite a few.
This one's an exception. Yeah, now there's Tim's obviously the most prolific songwriter as far as Home Free is concerned that's in the group. And then now I've got a couple, and Bastine is a great songwriter as well,
Oh, cool.
our newest member.
Yep.
And he had an original come out on our latest Christmas album,
Of course.
and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
beautiful song. And so there'll be the three of us will be writing more, I think, down the road as well. So, but this album's an exception given the nature of it, and I think some of our fans know. Um, and I hope this is not unveiling it, I think, but it's shanty inspired. So a lot of traditional stuff on there.
Oh,
And
okay.
mine is the only original, but uh just given the nature of what it is, because um I've converted the guys. The story behind that is before the sea shanty craze kind of went viral in the pandemic, there was a moment where Rob was in the car with me, and I was listening to a sea shanty, and he was like, "What the hell are you listening to? What is this?" And I'm like bopping along. I was like, "It's a sea shanty, man." And he was laughing at me, like, "This is so ridiculous. Like, why are you listening to this?" And I was like, "I love this kind of music," you know,
Yeah.
not knowing that it would work out as well as it did. So they kind of gave me free reign to kind of direct and pick this album. But in the process, I've got them hooked. The guys are super stoked about it. So who knows? Maybe we'll have Tim writing
Yeah.
an original sea shanty before too long.
They'll be involved. Oh, that's really exciting. I'm
Yeah.
excited to. I always love when. I mean, I say this at the beginning of like when I sit down and film a reaction. I'm like, I know I'm in for a good time. When I, whether it be emotional or funny or goofy, like it's just always so warm. We were talking about obviously the your lovely supporters are really like kind, supportive, warm, but you
Yeah.
guys are all warm as well. Like you, it's just it's there, it's
Thank you.
given. It's all like so lovely.
We we've gotten so lucky, not just with the fans, but with the family that we've built.
Mm,
And everything's happening the way it's meant to.
yeah.
And yeah, I couldn't be happier with my bandmates and our team, even our extended team and
Mm,
touring family. We're like, I mean, anyone has the right to say this, but we're so fortunate to like, because we have to realize being in the industry how unfortunate things can go because everybody has those experiences.
yep.
But home free is the energy's great. It's awesome.
That's important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great energy. That's a good word, actually. Um,
And we're goofy too, like you alluded to. So occasionally we have to let that come out too.
yeah.
That's all natural.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it provides some wonderful goofiness on my side as well. Like it's great, and obviously I have you guys to thank for all my low notes as well. My range has improved, so thank you on my behalf.
Okay. Okay.
I'm trying here.
No, I would put you well ahead of me as a vocal talent, to be honest. So
Well, you're
Again,
very
trash
kind.
voice. So.
No, none of that. No, thank you very much. It's been wonderful talking with you for the past hour. It's been lovely. All your
Yeah.
new
Thanks for
music.
having me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to you've got the new album.
Yep.
Is it out at this point as of when this is? Or
No,
do we
it will be
know?
out this month. So the vinyl to be able to be purchased will be out, but on streaming platforms end of May.
Well,
So
I look
that's
forward to listening to yours as
exciting.
well.
Thank you. Oh,
Yeah,
thank you. That's very kind. I do have one more question before you do go.
of course. Yeah.
If you could perform with anyone or write a song with anyone that you haven't yet, they could be dead or alive, but who would it be and why?
Oh man. I I think there's probably three answers across the board here because two of my favorite songwriters historically is Mark Knopfler of Dire
Yep.
Straits. And I've already released multiple of Dire Straits and Mark Knopfler songs. There's one on the album. And two, my favorite songwriter of all time from a lyrical standpoint is Sam Beam of Iron and Wine because he writes such beautiful poetic lyrics. The last track on the album is Iron and Wine, and that's the reason I picked that one. It's a beautiful song
Is that the
that makes you think.
trapeze?
The Trapeze Swinger,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like an 8 minute poem of like a post like someone who's passed on and is singing to the love of their life.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's so beautiful when you start realizing what the lyrics are about
Yeah.
and the pictures he can paint. And third, I would go off the wall and say Saint Vincent because she is such a out of the box songwriter that I love her music so much that I want to know. I don't know how she does it, and I want to be in a room like seeing how like she approaches the songwriting because
Yeah.
it's so foreign to me, and I wish I could achieve it. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's three answers to
That
your.
was A2 and green again. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
yeah, exactly. We're going across the board.
Going across. Well, I'm really looking forward to your album release, letting everyone hear it and seeing the feedback from it as well. I'm really excited for you and for the future of Home Free. What else this year brings for you. Thank you so much for joining me. And
Yeah, thanks for having me.
yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. See you soon.
Bye. I thoroughly enjoyed my chat with Adam Chance. I'm really excited to see these music videos, and of course, when this episode is out, we'll already have another single from him, so make sure you go and stream it. And whilst you're there, go and stream my stuff as well, because that's nice. As you can see, I have my Echo album cover on the wall, and if you're listening to this over on Spotify, it is directly behind me, to the right, on the wall. But my album is available to be purchased right now. You can purchase it as a digital download or a vinyl, and very soon it will be on streaming platforms. 30th of May, you can stream it to your heart's delight, and then you can look forward to Adam Chance's release in June. Gosh, there's so much content going out. Well, again, thank you so much for listening to this episode, and thank you to Adam Chance for joining me for the hour. Do hit that subscribe button, the bell button, and the thumbs up button, and go and hit that follow button if you're listening over on Spotify, and I will see you very soon for another episode of Elephant Talk. Bye.